Hi guys! Hello! Welcome back. Today we have a special guest again, and it's Ken!
Yay!
Hello,
Yay!
hello world.
So Ken is a cellist who also graduated from Juilliard, and he's now doing some really cool stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. So I guess my daytime job is a teacher. So I teach at a variety of places, Peabody being one of them. And then when I'm not doing that, my, I guess, nighttime job is a YouTuber, or I guess social media kind of world. So I run a production called JHMJams. It's a bi-weekly cover series, pop cover series with a rotating cast of classical and jazz musicians that I've met along my life journey. We just kind of put together a pop cover by year, just kind of throw them out into the world and we have a good time. So that's what I do.
That's really cool. I remember I played in one of those covers.
Yeah, Cherry.
The Disney one!
And that one did well too. That one was one of the better performing ones.
Yeah, they sent you a DVD, right? Of the...
Not for the one that you did.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, you gotta step up your game, Cherry.
So Ken, how did you come up with the idea of starting that? Did you do cover songs before and then you thought it would be kind of fun to share that?
Yeah, so long story short, there was an elective at Juilliard for your grad course called Intro to Music Tech. So it was a music technology course that you could take. I thought that sounded interesting because I needed credit and I was trying to find something that wasn't hard, that didn't require a lot of like homework and writing and papers. So I took that, and as part of our class assignment, we had to produce tracks. And all we had to do was just use like a concept that we learned in that class about some audio thing. But the content of the audio didn't matter. So for my projects, I just did pop covers. I personally enjoy listening to a lot of pop music, jazz. So it was something that was a nice escape from just like the classical concertos and sonatas that I was practicing at the time. So I got my friends together, we produced some tracks, and after a while, I had a handful of really well-produced tracks that I was proud of, so I tried to share it on SoundCloud, but nobody listened. So I started doing little things on Instagram to promote my SoundCloud, which I said that I was going to do it every Tuesday and Friday, just 15-second covers. And it was just kind of like doing that consistently for, I guess now over 4 years, that it like started growing into something more substantial. More people started paying attention to what I do. The family and the community grew, and I guess here we are. So it started from just like a Juilliard grad elective class.
Oh, I remember I took that course and I didn't do anything creative, and everything I did just sounded like MIDI file of like someone playing on Sibelius. So
no, but like the thing is, like, it ended up working out that if I probably did it by myself, it probably would have sounded really questionable as well. But like I was in class, and there were other people that were taking the music technology class in my year that were jazz musicians. And so I got to meet them and became friends with them. So when I was putting things together, I would be like, hey, can you just kind of like, lay something down for my track? Just casually, just like go into the studio, just do whatever you want. This is just a class assignment. But like when they played, they sound amazing. Even them just like messing around, and just improvising and just doing whatever for them, it's like mind blowing to me. I'm like, wow, dude, this sounds incredible, So then I got a couple other jazz musicians and was like, yeah, just like do whatever. Yeah, just make it sound cool. And they did. So like that's kind of how I ended up with like cool sounding tracks. It wasn't so much that I was the amazing performer that like came in and like nailed this incredible thing. So no, it was just kind of, I was lucky to be surrounded by these jazz musicians that largely impacted the kind of things that I started doing.
How do you start to gain your audience? Because it's hard to start with.
Yeah, no, I think, like you guys too, especially since you started, I'm sure you guys want more people to check out what you do and all of these things. But you do have to realize that it's a long game. You do have to do it for a long time, really consistently, for it to amount to anything. And even then, results aren't guaranteed. So you first have to go with the mindset that you're not really doing it for the followers. The moment that you start paying attention with the numbers, like the follower count or the view count, then you're going to burn out pretty quickly, I think. So one of the strategies is that as long as at its core, the fuel, the motivation of why you're creating, like on social media, is coming from a place of joy and just happiness. And it seems like, at least between the two of you guys get along really well. You guys are good friends. You guys have a lot of fun, even just talking to each other. And that's, I think, a really good place to come from, because it doesn't change the fact, whatever you end up doing in life, it's going to be hard. If you want to get to a certain place, anything is going to be really hard. So it's a matter of what you would rather deal with doing, to face the struggles, So if life is really hard, whether if you're doing the really hard things in life, but knowing that you are still doing the thing that makes you happy versus,
Right.
trying to battle the obstacles, knowing that it actually doesn't really make you happy, but you're just trying to please someone else, is going to be a very different experience every time you hit a wall, because you will. It is, unfortunately, a lot of hard work. A lot of people just see the pretty final product, but it's really not a very elegant, relaxed stage.
As an Asian and a classically trained musician, who probably started at a very young age, and there was a lot of effort and a lot of time and money that went into to a point where you got into Juilliard, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did you tell your parents that you were gonna do like YouTube and all that? Like, did they take it a while? I don't know, some of the Asian parents are very strict and they're just like, what are you doing? But I know nowadays a lot of the parents are very open about it, but like I was just wondering how your parents took that.
Mm-hmm. It's a thing that I probably resonates with a lot of people, but I think, approaching it from, I guess, two different points. Like one from, I guess, maybe like the parents' point of view, you have to first understand that the number one goal for parents generally is for you to be happy and successful, right? So if whatever they are suggesting that you do, or, putting the pressure on for you to do, is actually really making you miserable, then, they're not going to support that. They'll understand that it's not a healthy relationship. So I think you have to first understand that sometimes when parents are very strict, or parents are really, I guess, like the hovering, kind of trying to manipulate and control every aspect of your life, it's all coming from a place of incredible love and care. They just want you to succeed and be happy. So because they care so much, often that converts to, things that we as children don't, I guess, receive very well, or we find really annoying, or that we revolt against. But I think that's one thing to understand. I think the other aspect, I guess, for me growing up, my parents' big kind of philosophy was that, like, I wouldn't do things like half-assed. When they would get mad, it's when I would do something half-assed. So whether if it was, the YouTube JHM, like the pop world, or it was the classical, as long as I was really kind of committing 100% and just like working really hard at it, then they didn't really complain too much. But if I was doing either or, just like in a really mediocre way, that's when they would get really mad. So it was more of a kind of life lesson that I think they were trying to instill. For a while, my parents, they were like, Ken, you should be doing like orchestra auditions. Like, why aren't you doing like concerto competitions and doing all these things? Because if you're not, then how are you going to succeed? But that was coming from much more of a place of them perceiving me as how is Ken going to succeed as a classical musician? You know, and I guess their concern being Ken needs to make money. You know, like we can't support him forever. So he's going to have to find a way that he's going to become an adult and take care of himself. So how is that going to happen as him as a classical cellist? So if they didn't see me practice hard, they would get really mad. Not so much because I wasn't practicing so hard, but they were equivalent, like translating that to, oh no, Ken's not practicing, therefore he might not get a job, therefore he might not be able to eat and like down the road and be a grown-up, right? But that, to be able to see that, you know, I think in the moment as a child, it's really hard to see that that's the trajectory that the parents are seeing. They're seeing things in the long run constantly. They're always playing the long game when they're raising a child. So they're, even when you're in elementary school, middle school, they're already thinking about what is this kid going to do when he's a grown-up? Like, is he going to be okay? You know, so so I think that's what it is in my personal opinion of how I think parents are, and then how, you know, kids can be, to kind of strike a healthy balance.
No, I was just wondering, how did you come up with the name of your jam?
Oh, JHM?
Yeah. How?
Yeah. I get this question so often, and it's embarrassing because it's not really like a cool thing so much. My roommate at the time, Nathan Chan, he's a cellist that I lived with, he set our apartment Wi-Fi Juilliard House Mafia because we were both fans of a DJ duo called the Swedish House Mafia. So Nathan and I were both really big fans of electronic dance music. We love listening to like the beat drop, the huge bass, the drums, you know, all of that. So he just thought it would be funny to just name our apartment Wi-Fi Juilliard House Mafia. So when I started creating content, I just needed something to label it under for my project and my folder, you know, in my computer so I can save things. So I just put JHM because I was creating it at home and things like that. Then eventually, when I started the series, one of my other friends, Drew Ford, he suggested that I just do JHMJams because of the alliteration, just simply because it might make it easier for people to remember because of all of these things. So that's kind of how it started. But unfortunately, JHM in and itself is a really hard acronym to remember or just memorize or even say for a lot of people. So I get a lot of people either doing like JHJams or they might be like JMHJams, or like they like switch letters or like take things out. And I don't blame them. It's like terrible branding on my part. And I can't even promote it as Juilliard House Mafia is the problem, because Juilliard is a trademark name. You know, there's a lot of legal things surrounding the name Juilliard, so I can't do that. So that's why it's just JHM. We actually don't have on an official capacity what it stands for. You know, like when people generally ask, I just joke around and say it stands for Japanese Hungry Man or Japanese Hungry Musician, you know, because that's much more accurate to, I guess, who I am, you know. But that's, even that, you know, I'm not sure what the official name is still to this day, what it stands for.
Wow, cool stories.
Yes. Yeah. I was kind of getting, you know, a little afraid and scared that I was ruining potentials. Hold my instrument backwards and try to play